The good life, full of fun, seems to be the
Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Another big, exciting day in my kitchen. What are we making? I'll tell you what we're making. We're gonna take a trip to Milan, Italy. Doesn't that sound fantastic? That's kind of where my family's from. They're Piemontese. They're from the Piedmont region, the Boreal side. And there's a great recipe. My grandmother used to make it when I was a kid, and I've had it many times since, all over Europe, certainly all over the United States. And that's Ossobuco, which in Italian actually means bone with a hole. So when you look at a shank, a veal, which traditionally is what it's made from in Milan, there's a bone with a marrow, there's a hole. So that's where that name comes from. Now there's two versions of it. The original version of Ossobuco was actually bianco, it was white. So it wasn't made with a tomato sauce. It was in later years that tomatoes were added in the early 1900s. And then in the United States, a lot of times, you know, marinara sauce was actually added, or some form of a tomato, to make the red sauce. I prefer, I've had both. My grandmother used to make the bianco, the white version, but I prefer the red version myself. So that's what we're going to make today. Obviously, if you want to make the white version, you're just going to pull back on the tomatoes, essentially, is all you're going to do. All right, so what are we going to serve this with? Traditionally, Ossobuco, whether it's the bianco, the white version, or in this case the marinara, the red version, you're going to serve it with either a risotto or a polenta. You know, in the United States we'd use mashed potatoes many times. It's certainly almost like a stew that you would serve, you know, in the fall or winter. So I like the polenta. I like to mix the cheese in the polenta with some butter, and then put the veal shank over the top of that, and then put a little sauce over it. Ooh, and then you want to use what they call the Gremolata, which is essentially a topping, and we'll go over that as well. So again, a lot of ingredients, can look a little intimidating, but it's going to go really quick, and it's a lot of fun, and it's worth it. So this is something you kind of get going on. You make it, and then you pop it, whether in the oven or on the stovetop, like 2 hours, 3 hours, even up to 4 hours, and then it's great. One last thing I want to share with you is veal shank, or any type of shank, it's this part. I can't flex my leg up there, but it's that part of your leg. It's like the calf, and it's kind of like a peasant meat. Like a bresaola is like a peasant meat. So the meat is really tough. It's tendinous, it's got ligaments, and so that's why you want to braise this type of meat like you would a bresaola. You're gonna cook it down for hours and hours, and it goes from being something tough and very difficult to eat, and to where it just falls right off the bone. It's gonna melt and fall right off the bone. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. All right, so let me get kind of organized here with our ingredients. We'll go from there. I've got 4 veal shanks, right? That's our main event right there, our main attraction, okay? So they're range anywhere from about 8 to 12 ounces per piece. You're gonna see they got a nice thickness to it, right? So they got a good inch, maybe like grosso, right? About a big inch or a little bit more, okay? So it's fantastic, okay? Now we gotta go out, we're gonna flour them with seasoned flour. So we've got about 1.5 cups of, you know, you can use an all-purpose flour. Tradition in Italy, they're gonna use a double O, okay, which is great. We've got 2 golden onions chopped up. I don't want to say fine, but almost fine. I don't like it rustic with big chunks of carrot and celery, so that's me. I'm not a big fan of the carrots anyways, but you guys can, you know, a lot of times, even traditionally, they'll throw potatoes in there. But I've got 2 golden onions, okay? I've got 2 cups of tomatoes. I've got the San Marzano tomatoes, and I'm going to break them apart while they're in there, okay? I'm not a big fan of the tomato paste. You can use it if you want. I like to cook it down. I don't like anybody to mess with my food, if that makes sense. I want to make it all from scratch. So rather than use a tomato paste, I'm going to use the tomato with the flour. It'll make kind of a roux with the fat, and you just let it reduce. It'll be absolutely fantastic, okay? I've got a little over 1/2 cup of carrot. All right, I've got a little over 1/2 cup of celery. Again, I don't want to say finely chop it on the verge, okay? I've got some non-salted beef, if you will, veal broth. If you can't use that, a lot of recipes will call for chicken broth. It's a little bland. I wouldn't use chicken broth myself. I would use a beef or a veal broth. Best way to go, okay? Now, we're gonna get into some magic. Forget about it. Okay? 4 to 5 ounces of pancetta. That's gonna give it a little, you know, awesomeness, right? About 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. I got about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted preferably, okay? I've got a teaspoon, heavy teaspoon of rosemary, heavy teaspoon of thyme, and white wine, okay? We're gonna use about a cup, cup and a half. I know you're thinking it's nutmeg, because you know I love nutmeg, but a little secret ingredient, cinnamon. So you're gonna use about a quarter teaspoon, maybe a half teaspoon of cinnamon. It won't be enough to where you even taste cinnamon, if you will, but it gives it a little bit of something, that a little bit extra magic flavor. It's absolutely delicious. Obviously salt, I like to use the gray sea salt. Freshly ground pepper, only way to go. Yes, I have to do my olive oil plug. We own a farm in Italy. It's called Vito and Joe's, after my two boys. So if you guys are looking for the world's best olive oil on the planet, it's from Puglia. It's grassy, earthy, peppery, and it is from an Ogliari variety of olive. It's absolutely delicious. You can get it on Amazon, just punch in Vito and Joe's olive oil. You can get it on our website, Cooking Italian with Joe, or you can go to our Facebook. Absolutely delicious. We sell a large bottle, small bottle, discount for large cases if you want. That's the only way to go, I think, okay? Now we've got a Gremolata. Now that's gonna be with flat parsley. I know I'm going over a lot, so bear with me, but flat parsley, some lemon, and some garlic, okay? So we're gonna make that after. Let me get going on this and take it from there, okay? All right, guys, I got about a cup and a half of flour, okay? Double O, if you know what I'm saying. It's almost like James Bond, 00, okay? I'm gonna hit some pepper in there, probably a teaspoon to a tablespoon, okay? And then I'm gonna hit a good tablespoon of salt in the flour, okay? So that's gonna season your flour, all right? And then I'll mix that up. And then what I'm gonna wanna do, I'm gonna set that aside for a second, and then what I'm gonna wanna do is I wanna season this. Now I've let this out, I don't want this cold, okay? So I'm gonna actually season the shank with some salt, okay? And then some pepper, okay? And you wanna try to get it on there first, because this is when the meat, if you will, is porous, meaning it's going to absorb its juices better in this state than it will. Woo! Look at that, baby. All right? All right, so I've got the flour seasoned, distributed in the flour, okay? And then real simple, I'm just going to take the shank, okay? And I'm going to put it right in there in the flour, okay? And I'm going to flour it. So sometimes I see people just hit the edges. I like to hit everything. Now I'm gonna meet you over the stove. We're gonna mix some butter, some olive oil, get that pot ready to go. We're gonna start searing. It's gonna be good. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. All right, guys, here we go. So I'm gonna get this pot going. Now I like to use the cast iron. It's got the high side. You're only gonna use one pan, essentially, for the whole thing on the plate, okay? So I'm gonna use some Vito and Joe's, extra virgin. Don't know if I plugged that already. I'm gonna plug it again. All right, and I'm gonna use, like maybe a third of a cup of olive oil. And then I'm going to use those 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted, okay? So I'm going to get that in there. I want the oil to get hot. Butter, right? That's all going to melt down. And then what's going to happen is as that gets hot, when I put that shank in there, I want it to sear. I want to hear that, okay? Now what we're going for here is brown caramelization, okay? We want these to be... The flour is going to cause it to foam up, so don't worry about it. But I want that brown and caramelized, okay? Not burnt, but almost, you know, almost there. Just on the side of going brown on me, that golden crispy. There's sugar in the meat, so you want to caramelize that. All right, guys, these are ready to go. So I'm going to pull these out. See how nice, oh, look at that. Is that perfect? All right, so they've got nice brown caramelization, right? And then you got all that brown bit in there, all right? And I've already got my oil in there, so my Vito and Joe's, right, with my butter. That's good, right? So I'm going to turn the heat down a little. Okay, so I'm going to put it on a high-low or low-medium, okay? And then what I'm going to want to do is I want to add my onions. My onions are usually going to be the things that takes the longest to cook. So get them in there. Whoa! Jumping out, they're so fresh. Get them in there. And then you're going to see moisture. See how it starts to deglaze the pan all ready for you? Right? So let these cook down for about 2 or 3 minutes. You can use the top on the pan, all right? We're going to throw our pancetta in there, all right? Now, why pancetta? Because everything tastes better with bacon. But that's not a smoked version. It's a cured version of the pork belly. And I'll tell you, that pork, you know, it's high fat content. That's where you get all that flavor. So that pork's going to release that. And then I'm going to throw my garlic in. Garlic always takes less time than the onion. So, you know, you don't always have to, depending on the heat. But this was pretty hot. So I didn't want to add them at the same time. So sometimes you overcook garlic, it'll get a little bitter on you. So, all right, so I'm gonna let this cook down for another couple of minutes. I'm gonna add everything else. But I want to brown this first, almost caramelize it first before I add any moisture. And that way everything will caramelize and get nice and brown, and it just brings out the beautiful flavor. As soon as I add the moisture, you're only going to get as hot as the water, so it's difficult to caramelize at that temp, okay? Man, if you could smell it in here, ho ho! All right, so now I'm going to add my moisture, okay? So I'm going to add about a cup of wine. Maybe a little bit more. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you can never add too much white. Now, generally you want to add a white wine because the red wine will overpower the flavor of the veal, because the veal's got a delicate flavor. So that's the general rule. You're going to see the alcohol bubble right off of that. Now I'm going to add everything else. I'm just going to add my celery. I'm going to add my carrot. Okay. I'm going to add my rosemary. I'm going to add my thyme. I'm going to add my secret, double secret, absolutely secret ingredient. You're not going to tell anybody about that, my cinnamon. All right, now I'm going to let this cook down with a lot of moisture we just added, okay? So I'm going to let this cook down with the top on it for probably a good 5 or 6 minutes, okay? Then, after that's cooked down, beautiful. It's like a sofrito. It's a morpoive, as they call it, okay? So we're going to, there's a little French. And we'll let this cook down, all right? And then when that's cooked down, then we'll add everything else, all right? So I'm going to let that cook for a couple minutes. I'll tune right back with you guys. You need smell-o-vision. Oh, that's good. All right, so we're beautiful right there. So what I like to do, in this case, is then I'll take my veal shanks, okay? And I'm going to place them right in there, all right? And I got enough for 3 in this pan anyway, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my veal stock, okay? Push it off to the side, and then I'm going to take my tomatoes. Now, they're, in this case, they're the San Marzano, and they're in a sauce, and they're still kind of whole. They're going to break up because they're going to cook for hours, okay? So you're just going to like set that right in there. Everything's not really hot yet. See how the tomatoes are going to break right apart, and then we're going to reduce that after we take them off right near the end, okay? I like to reduce the sauce a little bit, all right? And then what I'm going to do is, again, just gently. You don't want to break it apart, and you don't want to take that caramelization off. So just gently, you want to get everything, if you will, mixed. All right, guys, so I'm going to take that top. Rather than put it right over the top, I want some of that steam to come out because I want to start reducing that sauce over the next 2 or 3 hours, okay? And that's it. I don't like to throw it in the oven. You throw it in about 325, 350. With a cover on it or foil. I like to leave it up on top of the stove top with the cast iron. That way I can open it up, turn something, check on it. It's a little easier. Plus, I like to be able to taste it once in a while, and oh, it fills the kitchen with the aroma that you can't get when you're in the oven, all right? All right, guys, it's been about 3 hours. This thing's ready to go. I've got my polenta here with Asiago and butter. And then I've got my Gremolata ready to go, okay? So I'm going to pull this cover off. Are you ready? Oh my God. I mean, that is just phenomenal. So I want to put my Gremolata on there just a little bit as the top, just to kind of break it down and cook it just for a second before I plate it. Oh, that's perfect. So now I'm going to take a little bit of the garlic, the lemon, all right, and put it over the top. You can see it just pulling away from the bone. So I'm going to put this over there just to cover it, okay? Then I'm going to put the top over it, okay? Then I'm going to shut the heat off, okay? And now I'm going to let it set like that for a few minutes. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh, that smells good. I'll meet you over at the table. It doesn't get better than that. It's so tender. You got to be careful to take it out. It's just falling out. The marrow, some of the marrow's coming out. It's absolutely perfect, right? Then here's the sauce. So, like I said, a lot of times people get nervous about all that sauce. It's going to cook down. Oh my God! Like, it's just like it's a reduced, concentrated form of deliciousness, is what it is. Oh. It's good. So now what I do is I got some polenta going. So with the polenta, with the Asiago and butter, I'm going to go ahead, right? And I'm going to take a pile of that right in the middle, right? So now I've got my polenta, right? And then I'm gonna come over here, right? And then what I wanna do is I wanna take this one right here, is what I wanna do. I wanna take that, and it's so tender. You know, I mean, it's so, right? I'm gonna put that right over the top, off to the side. Oh my God, right? Can I do that? Am I still on camera? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my sauce of deliciousness, right? Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm telling you, that is, now I don't wanna go all over the top because I just don't wanna ruin that beautiful gremolata, that look. And you can see like the little bits of beef. And oh, I'm just gonna do a little bit of that. Just a little bit off to the side, that's it. I mean, are you serious? Oh! How you doing? Does that look great? So what we're gonna go for here, was it just a little fatty tissue there? What we're going for here is we're going for a perfect bite. So I'm gonna take, oh look, I gotta tell you, look at that. Just look at how that falls apart. Absolutely perfect. Because remember what I said, it's not the greatest cut of meat, so that's why you gotta cook it down. I'm gonna take a little bit of polenta, and I want a little bit of that sauce on the top, is what I want. Oh my God. You know, the flavor of the meat comes out, look, instantly, which is fantastic. And then you get that fresh, bright flavor of the parsley, you know, a little bit of the polenta, and then you got that sauce with all the, just the rich, deep flavor. Oh my God. The second one was better. Oh my God. It's like every bite, every flavor. Oh my, that's good. Woo, that's good. I'm eating the rest of that, I'm gonna tell you right now. Let's hurry up and close this video because that's going in my stomach. Guys, thanks for taking a trip to Milan, Italy with me. Right back from my grandmother Nona, right? Isn't that fantastic? Small world, isn't it? Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Certainly share our YouTube channel on Facebook or with other friends. Make sure you grab yourself a bottle of oil on our Facebook or Amazon or Cooking Italian with Joe. Set some traditions, celebrate your heritage, have some fun in the kitchen with your family. Until next week, guys, mwah, buon appetito.
The good life, full of fun.